So, what's up people and welcome to the Chapter 101 discussion of Kaiju or Kaiju number 8. So Chapter 101 came out a few days ago, and as always I will leave a link to this chapter that's currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus 43 to the North American audience. So if you're interested, yeah, we'll go take a look at it before they pull this chapter back. Okay, so if you recall in Chapter 100, at the very end of the battle, we saw Leno coming clutch to help Kafka out. And by taking on those monsters that Kafka was having difficulty with, this opened the opportunity for Kafka to go after Mina. And so Chapter 101 starts where Leno starts battling these monsters. And what's interesting is Chapter 101 is not about Kafka, but it's actually about Leno. And we get an introduction to a side of him that we kind of understood but really didn't see until this time. And that is with regards to his motives for joining the JDF and for doing what he has been doing up till this time. And right from the very beginning of the chapter, we find out that one of his greatest desires after joining the JDF was to be able to fight alongside Kafka as his equal. And the remaining chapter talks about why this is the case. And now headquarters, noticing that Leno is now on the attack, notifies all of the other members of the JDF that his battle has begun. And what's interesting is we see Iharu, who is one of Leno's competitors, as well as a comrade, tell Leno to go knock him dead and show Kafka what he always intended. And during this battle, we notice that the battlesuit is actually pretty good. Not only does it give these drone-like weapons to do his attack, but they also provide a shield for his defense when the monsters attack. And while this battle is happening, we find out exactly why Leno has these motivations. For we find out that throughout his entire life, he's been dealt some pretty bad cards. He has lost the majority of his family, and he has stopped believing in heroes. Although the JDF existed, he had to watch his family get wiped out, watch his friends die many times over, and during that entire time, not a single JDF soldier or anybody else came to his rescue. This isn't a fault of the JDF, he just happens to be one of many millions of people who have been a victim of these monsters. And because of that, he has become jaded and he has stopped believing in heroes until that one day when Kafka saved his life, risking his own. And at that day he realized that yes, heroes do exist. And because of that, combined with his past where he has given up on heroes, you could understand why he valued Kafka so much. And it's not just that one incident. Over and over and over again, Kafka showed his self-sacrifice to support them or even save their lives. And it's because of that that he understood that if this was to go on, he needed to get better. He couldn't rely on Kafka all the time, not because of the fact that eventually Kafka may fail him, but because of the fact that that was just not the right thing to do. And so he finally is able to get to a point where he could help Kafka. In this particular situation, he understood that Kafka was in a no-win situation and he would be able to open a path and give him the way to success. And that by itself would be enough of a reason for Leno to go on. And while this is happening, we find out that the monsters are quite powerful, because as powerful as Leno has become, and we see him overwhelming so many monsters, one of the monsters have snuck up behind him and smashes its fist down into him. And of course headquarters is looking at this, completely terrified, but Kafka himself is not. And of all the things you would think he would say, such as, I need to go and help Leno, the one thing he actually says is, I understand, I will leave you here and I am going to go and do what I need to do. And it's at that point that we notice that, yes, Leno is not down, he is far from down. and you could see a blast of icy waves fly up the arm of the monster and tear it apart. And it is that very comment that Kafka said that gave further motivation to Leno, because of all the things that Kafka could have said, the fact that he was going to leave him and trust him to be able to take care of the things here was the greatest compliment that he could have ever expected. And so this turns out to be quite the emotional story. Yes, it's not anything original. You see this in many sort of nakama sort of stories. But once again, this is not a comic about originality. This is a comic about execution. Now, I always think that Matsumoto Naoya, even under sometimes cliche moments, executes these moments very well. And so I really enjoyed Chapter 101. Yes, it didn't have much to do with Kafka, but it really brought closure to one part of Leno's story. And you could see that this was necessary not only for the training, but also for himself to be able to go to the next level. And so, of course, with Kafka, this also gives him the ability to be able to trust someone very close to him to always have his back, and give him the ability to finally become monster number 8 and utilize its powers to the maximum. And so we expect that from Chapter 102 on, it will be about Kafka and how he goes and confronts Mina. Now, there were many comments that said, boy, it took a long time to get to the point where Mina first got attacked by monster number 9 to now. And there were many comments that were saying by this time Mina's probably dead. But you kind of understood why this was the situation. This is a series that comes out only every other week. And considering that it was Christmas and New Year's season, there were a lot of breaks that needed to be taken. But now we are at this point. We are about to focus in on Kafka. At least I hope so. And that will give us some very interesting chapters to look forward to. So once Chapter 102 comes out, I'll bring out another video. I hope you join me at that time. But this is the Chapter 101 discussion of Kaiju Hachiko or Kaiju number 8. If you read it, what'd you think about it? Did you enjoy it as much as I do? Any comments will be greatly appreciated. And as always, happy manga reading. And Jaya, nice day, everyone.